Ambassador Cal-9 stared at the glowing screen in front of him. His 6 eyes moved across the data reports that filled his vision. Each report made less sense than the one before it. The tall alien leaned back in his chair and made a low humming sound that meant confusion in his language. 3 months had passed since the Galactic Council made first contact with the human species. The humans lived on a blue planet called Earth in a small corner of the galaxy. At first, everything seemed normal. The humans were smart. They had built ships that could travel between stars. They had technology that impressed even the oldest species in the council. But now these reports were coming in from every human world. The reports all said the same impossible thing. Humans were keeping other living creatures trapped in their homes, not for food, not for work, just trapped. Cal-9 picked up another report. This one came from a human station near the edge of their space. The report showed pictures of humans living with small, furry animals. The animals walked around freely inside human homes. They ate food that humans gave them. They slept in soft beds that humans bought for them. The most confusing part was that the animals looked happy. Medical scans showed they were healthy. They were well fed. They showed no signs of fear or stress. Some of them even seemed to enjoy being around humans. Cal-9 had lived for over 200 years. He had studied dozens of alien species. He had never seen anything like this before. In his world, if you caught an animal, you either ate it or let it go. You did not keep it in your home like a family member. The door to his office opened with a soft hiss. His assistant, a young Vrathan named Deck 7, walked in carrying more reports. Tech 7 placed the reports on the desk and waited for orders. "Tell me, Deck 7, Cal-9 said slowly. In all your studies of alien species, have you ever seen anything like this?" Deck 7 looked at the reports on the desk. "No, Ambassador. The behavior makes no sense. Why would an intelligent species waste resources on creatures that give nothing back?" Cal-9 nodded. That was exactly what puzzled him. Every species in the galaxy followed the same basic rules. You used your resources to survive. Here formed relationships that helped you or your group. You did not waste time and energy on things that had no purpose. But humans seemed to break all these rules. They spent money on food for animals that could not work. They bought toys for creatures that could not think. They even took these animals to doctors when they got sick. They spent their own money to keep these animals healthy. The strangest reports came from human families. Parents would let their children play with animals that had sharp teeth and claws. The animals were small, but they were still wild creatures. Any normal species would keep their young away from potential danger. Instead, human children hugged these animals. They played games with them. They even slept in the same beds as them. The parents watched this happen and seemed pleased by it. Cal-9 opened another report from a human world called New Soul. The report showed a human female named Borum Park. She worked as an engineer on a space station. She lived alone in a small apartment. But she was not really alone. She shared her home with a small furry creature that did nothing but sleep and play. Every day after work, Borum would come home to this creature. She would talk to it like it could understand her words. She would stroke its fur and make soft sounds. The creature would make purring noises back at her. Borum seemed to enjoy this more than any other part of her day. The security cameras showed Borum spending her free time playing with the creature. She would move a string around and watch the animal chase it. She would throw small balls for it to catch. She would even make special foods for it to eat. The creature contributed nothing to her life except these simple interactions. Yet, medical scans showed that Borum was healthier and happier than most humans who lived alone. Her stress levels were lower. She slept better. She seemed more relaxed at work. Somehow, This useless creature was making her life better. KL9 looked at more reports. A human male named Dong Ho Lee lived on a farming world. It kept dozens of four-legged creatures called dogs. These dogs were bigger than the cats, but they were just as useless. They ate expensive food. They needed medical care. They required constant attention, but Donko treated them like they were his own children. He built special houses for them. He played with them every day. He even talked to them about his problems. The dogs would listen and wag their tails. They seemed to understand that Dong Ho needed comfort. The most puzzling report came from a human scientist named Dr. Hai Jin Nam. She worked on a research station far from Earth. Her job was to study alien life forms. She was one of the smartest humans in their space program. She kept a small Earth animal in her laboratory. The animal was a cat. It spent most of his time sleeping on Dr. Nam's desk. Sometimes it would knock over her equipment. It would walk across her keyboard while she was working, would demand food at inconvenient times. Any logical being would have gotten rid of such a disruptive creature, but Dr. Nam seemed to love having the cat around. She would pet it while she worked. She would talk to it about her research. She would even smile when it caused problems. The cat made her work harder, but it also made her happier. KL9 saved the most confusing report for last. Came from a human diplomat named Taemin Kim. Taemin was part of the team that negotiated with the Galactic Council. He was smart and professional. He understood alien cultures better than most humans. During their last meeting, Taemin had tried to explain the concept of pets to KL9. He used words like companionship and emotional support. The translation computers had trouble with these concepts. The Vrathan language had no words for keeping another species, just for friendship. Tae-Min had shown pictures of his own pet, a dog named Koma. The dog was small and fluffy. It had no useful skills. It could not hunt or guard or work. But Taemin's face lit up when he talked about Koma. He spoke about the dog the way other species spoke about their greatest achievements. KL9 closed the reports and rubbed his temples. The human pet phenomenon was unlike anything in the galaxy. It challenged everything he thought he knew about intelligent species, suggested that humans valued things that could not be measured or understood through normal logic. The ambassador made a decision. He would send a research team to study human pets up close. He needed to understand this strange behavior before the council made any important decisions about humanity. If humans were truly this different from other species, it could change everything about how the galaxy viewed them. But first, needed to understand what made humans willing to share their lives with creatures that gave nothing back except affection. In a universe where survival was the most important thing, humans had found something more valuable than mere existence. They had found something worth caring for, even when it served no practical purpose. That thought both fascinated and terrified KL9. What kind of species chose love over logic? And what did that mean for the future of the galaxy? Field researcher Zix Prime adjusted his cloaking device and stepped off the transport ship. The human space station, called Terra Nova, floated in the darkness around him. His mission was simple but strange. He needed to watch humans interact with their pets without being seen. Ambassador Kalan had chosen Zix Prime for this job because he was the best observer in the Rathan fleet. Zix Prime could study alien behavior for days without being noticed. He had infiltrated dozens of worlds and learned their secrets. But he had never been asked to study something as odd as human pets. The research team consisted of 5 aliens from different species. Each one had skills that would help them understand human behavior. Zix Prime was the leader. His job was to coordinate their observations and make sense of what they found. The first target was Engineer Borum Park. The reports said she lived alone with a small furry creature called a cat. 6 Prime found her apartment on level 7 of the station. He attached a microcamera to the outside of her window, began recording. What he saw made no sense at all. Barham worked long shifts maintaining the station's power systems. Her job was important and stressful. When she came home, she looked tired and worn out. Any normal being would rest immediately after such demanding work. Instead, Bjorn would call out to her cat as soon as she entered her apartment. The cat would run to her and make soft, purring sounds. Bjorn would pick up the animal and hold it close to her body. She would stroke its fur and talk to it like it was another person. "Hey, how was your day, Nabi?" she would ask the cat. The cat could not answer, but Bjorn would continue talking anyway. She would tell the cat about her problems at work. She would describe the repairs she had made. She would even ask the cat for advice about difficult decisions. The cat would listen and purr. Sometimes it would rub its head against Bjorn's face. These simple actions seemed to make Bjorn feel better. Her stress levels would drop. Her breathing would slow down. She would smile and laugh at the cat's behavior. 6 Prime watched this happen every day for a week. He could not understand why Bjorn wasted her rest time talking to an animal that could not help her. The cat provided no useful information. It could not solve her work problems. It could not even understand most of what she said. But the medical scanners showed something interesting. Bjorn's health improved when she spent time with the cat. Heart rate became more stable. Her sleep patterns got better. She seemed to recover from work stress faster than other humans who lived alone. The second target was even more puzzling. Farmer Dong Ho Lee lived on the agricultural world of New Hanyang. He grew food crops that fed thousands of people across the sector. His work was vital to human survival in this part of space. Dong Ho also kept 23 dogs on his farm. These dogs were bigger than cats, but just as useless. They ate expensive food that could have fed several humans. They needed medical care when they got sick. They required constant attention and training. Team member Coexist had been watching Dong Ho for 2 weeks. Her reports were full of confusion and amazement. Dong Ho would wake up early every morning to feed his dogs. He would spend an hour playing with them before starting his farm work. He would talk to them throughout the day as he worked in the fields. The dogs would follow Dong Ho around the farm. They would run alongside his equipment. They would bark at strangers who came too close. They seemed to think their job was to protect Dong Ho and his property. But here was the strange part. Ko did not need protection. His farm had advanced security systems. Robot guards patrolled the perimeter. Automated weapons could stop any threat. The dogs added nothing to his actual security, yet Dong Ho acted like the dogs were his personal army. He would praise them when they barked at visitors. We'd reward them with treats when they followed him around. We'd even let them sleep in his house at night instead of outside where working animals belonged. The most confusing observation came from the research station orbiting Kepler 4 to b. Dr. Hai Jin Nam was studying alien microorganisms that could help humans develop new medicines. Her research could save millions of lives. She was one of the most important scientists in human space. Dr. Nam kept a cat in her personal laboratory. The cat was orange and white with long fur. It had no scientific training. It could not help with research. It could not even stay out of the way while Dr. Nam worked. Team member Vex 3 had been monitoring Dr. Nam's lab for 10 days. The cat caused problems every single day. It would walk across Dr. Nam's keyboard while she was entering data. It would knock over equipment with its tail. It would demand food in the middle of important experiments. Any logical being would have removed such a disruptive creature from their workplace. The cat was clearly interfering with vital research. It was costing time and possibly lives by slowing down Dr. Nam's work. But Dr. Nams seemed to enjoy having the cat around. She would laugh when it caused problems. She would pet it while waiting for test results. She would talk to it about her research findings, but sit on her desk and listen with what looked like interest. The strangest thing was that Dr. Nam's productivity had actually increased since getting the cat. She worked longer hours, but seemed less stressed. She made fewer mistakes in her calculations. She came up with more creative solutions to research problems. Vex 3 could not explain how a disruptive animal was helping a human scientist do better work. The cat contributed nothing useful to the research. It only caused problems and demanded attention. Yet somehow its presence made Dr. Nam more effective at her job. Zix Prime collected reports from all his team members. Each report showed the same impossible pattern. Humans were keeping animals that served no practical purpose. These animals consumed resources and caused problems. They required constant care and attention. But every human who kept pets seemed healthier and happier than those who lived alone. Their stress levels were lower. They slept better. They recovered from illness faster. They even performed better at their jobs. The research team had found something that challenged everything they knew about intelligent behavior. Humans were gaining real benefits from relationships that made no logical sense. They were finding value in connections that could not be measured or quantified. Six Prime sent his preliminary report to Ambassador Calamine. The message was simple but troubling. Human pets were not just a strange cultural habit. They were somehow essential to human well-being. The animals provided something that humans needed, but could not get from their own species. The question was what that something could be, and why. Humans were the only species in the galaxy that seemed to need it. Six Prime had a feeling that understanding human pets would require understanding something much deeper about human nature itself, something that might change how the entire galaxy viewed this strange and fascinating species. But first, he needed to find examples of even more extreme human-pet relationships. The reports mentioned humans living with much larger and more dangerous animals. If he could observe those relationships, he might finally understand what made humans so different from every other species in the galaxy. The investigation was just beginning. The breakthrough came on a Tuesday morning when Zix Prime intercepted a personal message from deep space. The message originated from a human exploration ship called the Magangwa. It was traveling far from Earth, mapping new star systems for possible colonization. The message was from Captain Woojin Choi to his family back on Earth. Most of it was routine updates about the mission, but one part made Six Prime's blood run cold. The captain was talking about his new roommate. "Mom, you would not believe what Tahoon brought aboard last week," the captain said in his message. "He found this cat on the last station we visited. Not just any cat. This thing is huge. It weighs almost 20 pounds and has claws like little knives." Six Prime played the message again to make sure he understood correctly. The humans had brought a predator aboard their ship. Not a small, harmless creature like the cats they had observed before. This was something the ship's computer classified as a dangerous animal. The captain continued his message with what sounded like pride in his voice. "We named him Baram. He has already claimed my quarters as his territory. Yesterday, he knocked over my coffee mug and broke my favorite picture frame. But you should see how beautiful he is when he stretches out in the sunlight from the observation deck." Six Prime immediately contacted his team. This was exactly the kind of extreme case they needed to study. If humans were willing to live with actual predators, it might explain their strange relationship with all animals. The research team quickly changed their mission. They needed to get aboard the Magangwa and observe this Baram creature. Using their advanced cloaking technology, they attached their ship to the human vessel's hull. They tapped into the ship's internal communication systems, began monitoring everything. What they found exceeded their worst expectations. Baram was not just big for a cat. He was enormous. His body was covered in thick fur that made him look even larger. His paws were the size of a human hand. His claws were sharp enough to cut through metal. His jaw was powerful enough to crush bones. The ship's database classified him as a Maine Coon cat. ID entry noted that these cats were originally bred to hunt large rodents and survive in harsh climates. 8. They retained most of their wild instincts, even after thousands of years of domestication. Security Chief Tae-Hoon Park, the human who had brought Barum aboard, seemed completely unaware of the danger. He would pick up the massive cat and carry him around like a small pet. He would let Barum sleep on his bed. He would even put his face close to Barum's teeth and claws without any protection. But it was Captain Choi's behavior that truly shocked the alien observers. The captain had not just allowed this predator on his ship. He had welcomed it into his personal living space. He had given up half his quarters to accommodate Barum's needs. The captain's quarters were now filled with cat furniture. There were climbing trees that reached from floor to ceiling. There were soft beds placed in sunny spots near the windows. There were toys scattered across the floor. The captain had turned his personal space into a hunting ground for a wild animal. The alien team watched in horror as Barum demonstrated his predatory skills. He would stalk the ship's maintenance drones, pouncing on them with incredible speed and precision. His claws would extend automatically when he grabbed his prey. His pupils would dilate as his hunting instincts took over. Any normal species would have immediately removed such a dangerous creature from their ship. But Captain Choi seemed to find Barum's hunting behavior entertaining. He would laugh when Barum attacked the drones. He would praise the cat for his speed and agility. He would even buy new toys to help Barum practice his hunting skills. The most disturbing incident happened during the night shift. Ma had been prowling the ship's corridors when he encountered Engineer Sunmi Park walking alone. The cat's predatory instincts kicked in. He crouched low and began stalking her like prey. Sunmi noticed Barum following her. Instead of running or calling for help, she stopped and turned to face the cat. She crouched down and held out her hand. Barum approached cautiously, sniffed her fingers. Kala then began purring loudly. Sunmi laughed and began petting the dangerous predator. You scared me for a second there, big guy, she said softly. But you are just a big baby, aren't you? Barum responded by rubbing his massive head against Sunmi's hand. His purring grew louder. He rolled onto his back and exposed his belly, showing complete trust in this human he had just been hunting. The alien observers could not process what they were seeing. A predator had switched from hunting mode to affection mode in seconds. The human had recognized this change and responded with trust instead of fear. Both species seemed to understand each other perfectly. Dr. So-Young Kim, the ship's psychologist, provided more insight during her daily reports. She had been studying Barum's effect on the crew's mental health. Her findings were remarkable. Barum has become a source of comfort for the entire crew, she reported. His presence reduces stress hormones by an average of 30%. The crew members who spend time with him report better sleep quality and improved mood. Even his destructive behavior seems to provide emotional benefits. Dr. Kim explained that the crew found Barum's mischief endearing rather than annoying. Over equipment, they would laugh and clean up the mess. When he interrupted their work by demanding attention, they would take breaks to pat him. His unpredictable behavior added variety to their routine daily life. Living with Barum requires us to be flexible and patient, Dr. Kim continued. These are valuable skills for deep space exploration. The cat is inadvertently training us to handle unexpected situations with humor and adaptability. The alien team began to understand that the human-pet relationship was more complex than they had imagined. Barum was not just a pet. He was a teacher, a therapist, and a companion all in one. His predatory nature did not make him dangerous to the humans. Instead, it made him more valuable Captain Choi's personal logs revealed the true depth of his relationship with Barum. "Some days, this mission feels impossible," he wrote. "We are so far from home, surrounded by empty space and unknown dangers. But when I come back to my quarters and see Barum sleeping in his favorite spot, I remember why we are doing this." The captain described how Barum's presence made the ship feel more like home. The cat's daily routines provided structure and comfort. His playful behavior reminded the crew to find joy in small things. His trust in the humans gave them confidence in their own abilities. "Karam does not know that he is surrounded by the vacuum of space," the captain wrote. "He does not worry about the dangers we face every day. His calm confidence helps us stay focused on our mission instead of our fears." 6 Prime realized that the human-pet relationship was not about keeping animals captive. It was about creating family bonds that transcended species barriers. Humans had found a way to share their lives with other creatures in a way that benefited everyone involved. The murder cat named Barum had revealed the truth about human pets. They were not prisoners or slaves. They were partners in a relationship based on mutual trust and affection. The humans provided safety and care. The animals provided companionship and emotional support. This discovery would change everything the aliens thought they knew about humanity. But first, 6 Prime needed to understand how such an impossible relationship could work so well. Dr. So-Young Kim sat in her office aboard the Magangwa, speaking to the ship's artificial intelligence system. She had no idea that alien observers were listening to every word. Her conversation would become the key that unlocked the mystery of human pets. "Ria, I need to update the crew's psychological profiles," Dr. Kim said to the computer. "Ria, I want to document the positive effects of having Barum on board." Dia responded with its usual mechanical voice. "Please explain the mechanism by which a feline predator improves human psychological health, Dr. Kim." Dr. Kim smiled as she organized her thoughts. "It comes down to something called unconditional love, Arya. Humans have a deep need for relationships that do not depend on performance or achievement. We need to feel valued just for existing." 6 Prime listened carefully as Dr. Kim explained concepts that had no equivalent in his language. The translation systems struggled to convert her words into something the alien team could understand. "In our professional relationships, we are valued for what we can do," Dr. Kim continued. "Captain Choi is respected because he leads the ship well. Engineer Sunmi is valued because she keeps our systems running. I am needed because I help maintain crew mental health." The AI processed this information. It appears to be logical social structure based on utility and competence. "Exactly," Dr. Kim agreed. "But humans also need relationships that exist, regardless of what we can provide. We need to feel loved even when we make mistakes, even when we fail, even when we have nothing to offer." 6 Prime felt his understanding shift. He had been analyzing human-pet relationships through the lens of utility and logic. But Dr. Kim was describing something that existed outside those frameworks entirely. "Barum loves Captain Choi whether he makes good decisions or bad ones," Dr. Kim explained. "The cat does not care if the captain is successful or if he fails. Barum just wants to be near him. That kind of acceptance is rare and precious." The alien team began monitoring Captain Choi more closely. They watched him return to his quarters after a particularly difficult day. A navigation error had cost him valuable time and resources. The captain looked tired and frustrated with himself. Barum was waiting in his usual spot by the window. When Captain Choi entered, the cat immediately approached him. Barum began purring and rubbing against the captain's legs. The cat did not judge or criticize. He simply offered comfort through his presence. Captain Choi picked up Barum and held him close. "At least someone thinks I am doing okay," he said quietly. The cat continued purring, apparently content to be held by someone who felt like a failure. The alien observers watched this interaction with growing amazement. Bahram had not solved the captain's problems. He had not offered advice or criticism. He had simply been present and affectionate. Somehow, this was exactly what the captain needed. Dr. Kim's research notes provided more insight into the human need for unconditional relationships. She had studied crew members who had pets back on Earth compared to those who did not. The differences were significant. Humans with pets show greater emotional stability, she wrote. They recover from stress faster. They are more resilient. When facing challenges, they report higher levels of life satisfaction, even during difficult periods. The reason, Dr. Kim explained, was that pets provided a safe emotional foundation. No matter what happened in the outside world, pet owners knew they had someone who cared about them unconditionally. This knowledge gave them confidence to take risks and face challenges. Engineer Sunmi Park demonstrated this principle during a critical system repair. The ship's main power coupling had failed, threatening life support for the entire crew. Sunmi worked for 18 hours straight to fix the problem. Her hands shook from exhaustion and her eyes burned from strain. During her brief rest breaks, Sumi would visit Bahram. She would pet the cat and talk to him about the technical challenges she was facing. Karam would listen and purr, offering no solutions but providing emotional support. "I know you believe in me, big guy," Sami would say. "Even if I mess this up, you will still be happy to see me." This simple reassurance helped her maintain focus during the most stressful repair of her career. The alien team began to understand that human-pet relationships served a function that existed nowhere else in the galaxy. Other species formed alliances based on mutual benefit. They created families to protect genetic lines. They built societies to improve survival chances. But humans had gone beyond survival needs. They had developed the capacity for love that expected nothing in return. They could form bonds based purely on affection and emotional connection. This ability made them unique among all known intelligent species. 6 Prime reviewed the psychological profiles of every crew member on the Magangwa. Those who spent time with Bahram showed measurable improvements in mental health. Their stress hormones were lower. Their sleep patterns were more regular. Their immune systems were stronger. The cat was not just providing emotional comfort. He was actually improving human physical health through the power of unconditional love. The alien team had discovered something that challenged their understanding of biology itself. Dr. Kim's final report to the ship's medical officer explained the broader implications. The human capacity for cross-species bonding may be our greatest evolutionary advantage, she wrote. It allows us to find meaning and purpose beyond mere survival. She described how the relationship with Bahram had changed the entire crew dynamic. People were more patient with each other. They showed more compassion when colleagues made mistakes. They worked together more effectively as a team. Living with Bahram has taught us to value relationships over achievements, Dr. Kim concluded. We have learned that love and loyalty are more important than perfection. These lessons make us better humans and better crewmates. The alien observers finally understood what made humans so different from other species. Humans had evolved beyond the basic drives of survival and reproduction. They had developed the ability to love without expectation of return. This capacity allowed them to form bonds that transcended logic and utility. More importantly, these bonds made humans stronger rather than weaker. The energy spent caring for pets was not wasted. It was invested in emotional health that improved every aspect of human performance. Love was not a luxury for humans. It was a necessity that enhanced their survival in ways that could not be measured by traditional metrics. Bahram, the murder cat, had become the perfect example of human emotional evolution. He was a predator who had been transformed into a source of comfort and strength. His relationship with the crew demonstrated humanity's most remarkable trait, the ability to find family in the most unlikely places. The alien team prepared their final observations. Okay, they had found something that would change how the galaxy viewed humanity forever. But they still needed to see how this remarkable capacity for love would serve humans in their greatest moment of need. That test would come sooner than anyone expected. The crisis began at 0347 hours ship time. Bahram was the first to notice something was wrong. The massive cat had been sleeping peacefully in his favorite spot near the environmental controls in Captain Choi's quarters. Suddenly, his ears perked up and his eyes opened wide. He began pacing around the room, making low, growling sounds that the alien observers had never heard before. Captain Choi was still asleep in his bed. He had worked a double shift and needed the rest. But Bahram would not let him sleep. The cat jumped onto the bed and began pawing at the captain's face. When that did not work, Bahram started meowing loudly right next to the captain's ear. "What is wrong with you, Bahram?" Captain Choi mumbled as he sat up. "It is the middle of the night." But Bahram continued his urgent behavior. He ran to the environmental control panel and back to the captain. The key repeated this pattern several times, as if trying to lead the captain somewhere important. 6 Prime and his team watched this strange scene with confusion. The cat was acting like something was seriously wrong, while all the ship's systems showed normal readings. The computers detected no problems anywhere on the MUGUNGHWA. Choi finally got out of bed and followed Bahram to the environmental controls. The displays all showed green lights. Everything appeared to be working perfectly, but Bahram kept pawing at one specific panel and making distressed sounds. "I do not see anything wrong, buddy," Captain Choi said. But something in Bahram's behavior made him hesitate. Cat had never acted this way before. His instincts told him to pay attention. Captain Choi decided to run a deeper diagnostic scan of the environmental systems. The standard readings still showed everything was normal. But when he accessed the detailed sensor data, he found something that made his blood run cold. There was a microfracture in the atmospheric processing unit. The crack was so small that the ship's automatic systems had not detected it. But it was growing slowly, allowing precious oxygen to leak into space. In 6 hours, the leak would become critical. In 12 hours, the crew would start dying. Captain Choi immediately sounded the general alarm. The entire crew rushed to their emergency stations. Engineer Sunmi Park led a team to the damaged section, while Dr. Kim prepared the medical bay for potential casualties. The alien observers watched in amazement. As the humans worked together to save their ship, but their attention kept returning to Bahram. How had the cat detected a problem that escaped the ship's advanced sensors? The answer came from Engineer Sunmi as she examined the damaged equipment. "Cats have incredible hearing," she explained to a repair team. Bahram probably heard the high-frequency sound of escaping gas hours before our sensors could measure the leak. But that was not the whole story. Dr. Kim provided additional insight as she monitored the crew's stress levels during the crisis. Bahram did not just detect the problem, she said. He communicated it to Captain Choi in the only way he could. He used his behavior to alert us to danger. The alien team realized they were witnessing something unprecedented. A non-sentient creature had saved the lives of an entire starship crew. Bahram could not understand the technical details of atmospheric processors or life support systems. But he had sensed danger and found a way to warn his human companions. The repair work took 14 hours. The crew worked without rest, knowing that their lives depended on fixing the leak before their oxygen ran out. It was the most dangerous situation any of them had ever faced. Throughout the crisis, Taram stayed close to Captain Choi. The cat seemed to understand that his human was under tremendous stress. He would brush against the captain's legs when tension levels got too high. He would purr softly during the most difficult moments, provided constant emotional support without getting in the way of the work. Other crew members also saw comfort from Bahram during their brief rest breaks. Engineer Sunmi would pet him for a few seconds before returning to her repairs. Communications Officer Jinwoo would scratch behind Bahram's ears while waiting for status updates. The cat gave each person exactly the type of comfort they needed. Dr. Kim documented how Bahram's presence affected the crew's performance during the emergency. "Having Bahram here reminds us what we are fighting for," she wrote. "He represents the bonds that make life worth living. His trust in us gives us strength to keep going when everything seems hopeless." The repair was finally completed with less than 2 hours of oxygen remaining. The crew had succeeded in saving their ship and their lives. They celebrated their victory with exhausted relief and gratitude. Captain Choi found Bahram sitting in his usual spot by the window, calmly watching the stars. The cat acted as if nothing unusual had happened. He had done his job by alerting the humans to danger. Now he was content to return to his normal routine of sleeping and playing. "You saved us all, buddy," Captain Choi said as he picked up the massive cat. "I do not know how you knew, but you saved every life on this ship." Bahram responded with his usual purr and head bump. He did not need praise or recognition. He had protected his family because that was what family members did for each other. The alien observers finally understood the true nature of human-pet relationships. It was not about humans controlling other species or keeping them as entertainment. It was about creating genuine family bonds that transcended the boundaries between species. Bahram had demonstrated that these bonds worked both ways. The humans cared for him, but he also cared for them. Protected each other not because of contracts or agreements, but because of love and loyalty that could not be measured or explained. 6 Prime prepared his final report to Ambassador Kel-9. The conclusions would shock the entire Galactic Council. Humans had developed something that no other species possessed: the ability to form meaningful relationships with creatures from completely different evolutionary paths. This ability was not a weakness or a strange quirk. It was humanity's greatest strength. It showed that humans could find value in connections that went beyond immediate survival needs. They could love without expecting anything in return. They could create families that included anyone willing to share their lives. The report also noted that human pets were not prisoners or slaves. They were partners in relationships based on mutual trust and affection. Bahram had chosen to stay with the humans because they had given him something precious, a place where he belonged and was valued just for being himself. Most importantly, the crisis had proven that these emotional bonds made humans stronger in practical ways. Bahram's warning had saved the ship. The crew's love for him had given them strength during their darkest hours. The relationship had benefits that could mean the difference between life and death. Ambassador Kel-9 read the report with growing amazement. The human capacity for cross-species love was unlike anything in the galaxy. It suggested that humans could form alliances and friendships with any species willing to accept them. They could build a galactic community based on affection rather than fear or mutual benefit. The murder cat named Bahram had become humanity's greatest ambassador. He had shown the galaxy that humans were capable of love that transcended all boundaries. In a universe where most species struggled to trust even their own kind, humans had learned to love creatures that were completely different from themselves. This revelation would change everything about how the galaxy viewed humanity. They were not just another intelligent species seeking resources and territory. They were potential family members for anyone ready to accept unconditional love and give it in return. The age of human isolation was ending. Thanks to a cat who had saved a starship, the galaxy was about to discover what it meant to be part of the human family.